Today I am going to cover the component of the RE framework. Different what are the component of RE framework, and I will also explain how uh, what is the key to fit business process into the RE framework, into this framework. So that I am going to explain today. So please listen carefully. The What are the different component of the RE framework? There are four component of the RE framework. One is init, get transaction data, process transaction, and end process. So in init component, we need to set up initial all the settings. We need to uh, configure and kill all the process and initialize all the applications. That work we need to do in the config init state and init component. And second is get transaction data. Under the get transaction data, we need to we need data. The data we will get the data as a input from dictionary, from the data source, like data table and queue and the configuration file. Different data sources there, so we need to uh, get the input data from this type of resources, and uh, third one is process transaction. We need to set the status, like set the transaction status and take a screenshot and close all the application on this component and kill all the process on the process transaction item. And the fourth one is end process. Close all the application and kill all the process. These are the four component we have in these are the four component we have in the RE framework. So I have explained these four components. Now we will see what is key to fit what is the key to fit the business process into this framework. So first of all, we need to find out what your transaction item. So to identify the transaction item, for each and every item is transaction item. So how to identify the transaction item? In the transaction data, the data we are getting, like table or files and whatever we will get. So for each and every item is a transaction item, and then understand it resources and applications. Means this data, we need to understand this data, where this data is coming, like wave from the desktop, from the database. Okay, need to understand. Then create a folder for each application and divide the process into a smaller workflow. Divide the process into a smaller workflow. After the mm, identify, we need to create a folder for each application and divide the process into a smaller workflow. Then what decides what decides whether a transaction is passed? That is the question. So answer is, if no application and business exception occurs, how we will decide whether the transaction is pass or fail? So to identify the transaction is pass or fail, if no application and business exception occur, it means the transaction is pass. Then the question arises, what is the transaction data? What is the transaction data? So to identify the transaction data, a source from which the transaction item is derived. So need to identify the a source from which the transaction item is derived. Okay, then how transaction number is used. How transaction number is used to iterate the data row for uniquely identified the particular item. We need to use the data number. We need to have the transaction number. okay, and used as an index to get the transaction item. How to end the loop? if data table is used if data table is used, think of comparing the index with the row count. If data table is used, comparing the index with the row count. If other data source is used, then ask which configuration the loop to end. Okay, so this was all about the uh, this was all about the RE framework component, and I have explained the how to fit a business process into the RE framework. Okay, thank you.